Hi, Beirut Buzzers, and welcome back to another episode of the Beirut Buzz podcast brought to you by Beirut.com. On last week's episode, we had a thrilling conversation with a female Lebanese drifter, Vanessa Radi. And today we're going to continue the thread of Lebanese women's success stories by catching up with Dania Bdeir, who is a Lebanese-Canadian writer and director whose new film Warsha recently won the grand prize at the Asian Shorts Film Festival for 2022. She is joined by Khansa, a Lebanese multi-talented artist, and who played the main role in this award-winning film. Hi Dania, hi Khansa.
Hi.
Hello.
How have you been celebrating?
Wallah, the celebrations have not stopped, alhamdulillah. It's been a ride on this film after 4 or 5 years of working on it non-stop in our corners of the world. Releasing it to the public early in January of this year. We started at Sundance, which is one of the best film festivals in the world, and where we won our first prize, the best short film there. And then since then until now, alhamdulillah, it's been playing in so many festivals and winning a lot of awards. We are now at about 17 awards so far. And since the Tokyo one and the Asian Film Festival, there's been 2 awards since then.
Yes, أول شي مبروك على كل ولي.
Thank you.
And you, Khansa, have you been celebrating?
يعني ما عم نهدى تليفونات. تهاني وكل يوم الصبح. No, it's been overwhelming in a nice way. It's really nice to see كل هالشغل paid off finally and being recognized on international level. والحلو هيك الaudience الكومنتس تبع الاودينس من كل حول العالم وايه basically it's been very rewarding it's been هيك كتير صار في هيك a nice motivation to keep going and to هيك that's keeping us excited for the next step.
Yeah, it was very nice a dish. It's all around the world. امبارح we won an award in Brazil, in Rio. So I woke up this morning with messages from people in Brazil telling us how the film made them feel. So just knowing that you make a small film in Beirut and it can reach audiences and touch their hearts in Mumbai and Tokyo and Rio and the US and Anjad all around the world feels very nice. Across all borders, we're all dealing with very similar things and we feel the same human emotion kind of.
So let's talk about the film. The 15-minute film tells the story of a real character named Muhammad, who is a Syrian crane operator working in Lebanon. Dania, how did you meet Muhammad?
In 2017, I was in Lebanon. I was sitting on my balcony and at some point I looked up and Beirut, especially at that time, was full of cranes all the time. Dayman rebuilding and luxury buildings non-stop. But one of those cranes I looked at can be a construction worker standing on top of the cabin. And at first, I thought he was going to jump. And then I kept watching him. And then as he kneeled down, I realized كان عم بيصلي. And it was such a beautiful scene that kind of got stuck in my head. And I became a little obsessed with this idea of crane operators, realizing that we always see cranes all around us, but we never really think about the little person in that cabin who is operating this huge machine and who can see the world, but nobody can see him. So I think that's what started an obsession with wanting to tell a story from the point of view of a crane operator. Who, in Lebanon, as we know, construction workers have historically always been Syrian, even before the war. And so as I did a lot of research and spent time on construction sites, I realized that there was this very palpable masculine energy on all construction sites. I was always the only woman there. It was a very loud space that was a lot of dajjeh. You can't even hear yourself think or dream. And you could always feel the difference between the Syrian workers and the rest of the bosses and the engineers. And they would always try to operate as a group, call the least attention to themselves as possible. So وقتها كان في فكرة إنه wanting to follow this crane operator who arrives with the rest of his co-workers, and then he's the only one who climbs that ladder and leaves all of those things behind. He leaves behind the masculinity, he leaves behind the dajjeh, he leaves behind the social construct of what it means to be a Syrian worker in Lebanon, and he can just have his own private space up there. And around the time I was thinking of this film, Khansa dropped his first single, his amazing track Khayef, with a music video. And when I went to see him performing live, it was transcendental. He's so incredible as a performer, transcending gender in all its ways. So since then, me and him started talking, and we talked about Warsha, and that's the decision of him playing the lead role and embodying this character, being that he's familiar also with the feeling of seeking out privacy to be yourself and to experiment with art and all any hidden talents you may have that you don't feel comfortable expressing in your daily life. Since early days, Khansa was part of creating the character of Muhammad and pouring his heart into it.
So أول مرة شفت محمد, it was actually him being on a crane, operating a crane. Were your previous films also born from a magical moment like this one?
Each film has kind of its story. The short film I did before that, which was my thesis film for NYU, it's more a personal story, and it was more inspired by me living in New York and being between New York and Beirut, and by me experiencing my dad's funeral, Allah yarhamu, in 2009. So that was, I guess it's a magical moment, but not a happy magical moment. But the moment of the funeral was what I turned it into a short. It was my impressionistic memory of what it feels like to be a host of a funeral, Aza, and this feeling of like 3-day ritual where people are coming and you have to stand up, sit down, out salamtik over and over again. So it was me trying to kind of explore that moment. And then before that, I had made a short that was about when I would come to Beirut, and there would always be blocked roads because of tire burnings. كان في وقتها مظاهرات for ميومين تبع شركة الكهرباء. And so at that time, I wrote a short from the point of view of the son of one of these employees who decides to go and burn tires, and the son sneaks into the car with him to accompany him, and then realizes, it's kind of a loss of innocence moment. So they're all inspired from either my life or Beirut or things that we're experiencing, and each has its own genesis story.
So Muhammad is played by Khansa. Khansa, you are a Lebanese dancer, singer, actor. What else do you do? Introduce us to yourself.
Basically, I am also a music producer. I am a songwriter. Mainly, I'm in the world of the arts, into performance, into creating my own sound, creating my own universe. عمري 29 سنة. Basically, yeah. This is what I do.
Ballet dancer and area performer.
No, it's all part of the skills that I have, that I ended up learning, especially aerial, so to serve my context, my performance context. يعني, my identity as a person is related to my performance persona. So everything I learn or acquire as a skill, I use within my work, and that's how I progress and evolve as an artist.
So you and Dania worked closely together on developing the main character. What was your first impression about the story, and in what ways did you relate to the character you played?
أنا أول شيء the first thing I was captivated by هو energy and passion that drives Dania, and I was able to see it in her eyes, her commitment and her this beautiful energy that makes you مش بس want to read the script إنما to really dive into her universe. لأنه it's يعني it began like a spark, and then I managed to read the script and visualize it the way she was seeing it. لأنه really when we started talking about it, we were aiming high, and we were seeing it as it was written. as it was هيك technically يعني nearly impossible to execute, and that challenge is what made it very exciting to هيك to actually إنه يلا embark on this journey and go ahead and execute حتى لو it sounded nearly impossible, you know, but again I go back to her dedication and persistence. أخذنا كل هالوقت to finally put it into a motion picture. The character and the story of the character with the journey that he takes on is quite similar to my own personal story. لقيت a kind of a relation between me and the character that was also very challenging for me لأنه it was يعني most of the time difficult to really get into his shoes, his own universe without feeling specific things that were very يعني emotional for me وكتير made me question my own past and my own journey. So I really wanted to disconnect يعني and find my يعني كيف بدي أقول I wanted to really have a clear mental space to be able to allow this character to enter and to develop his own inner monologue based on real life experiences. The most exciting part for me was the performance أكيد and how I wanted to transition from reality into fantasy. Because me as a kid, I always kind of created my own universe, my own bubble where I was disconnected from the world. I wanted to been searching for my privacy, fighting for my privacy, for my freedom, أكون لحالي where I can be whoever I want to be. And this character was a great opportunity to explore that further. يعني I was saying Dania إنه this character we don't know his age because we don't know يعني لأيمتها إنه obviously there's no age for الأشخاص اللي بتوقف تحلم. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in the movie, your إذا بدنا نسميها your secret passion is dancing. Is Muhammad's secret passion in dancing? كتير طالع عبالي أعرف هيدا الشيء.
هلا هو أصلاً هيدا الفيلم we want to try and avoid spoilers. يعني obviously there's some stuff that everybody knows already or like that you might know when you know that Khansa is playing the role. But the film is an experience. It's a journey to experience really from beginning to end, and you will find out what his passion is when you watch it. It's what we realize, I think, with working with Khansa on the character is even though you don't have to have lived the exact same experience as someone else, when you connect on a human emotion level, when you find that one thing in common that you can really relate to, then that's really enough to explore that. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's communicating universally to other people. I think no matter what experience you've specifically lived in your life, no matter what nationality or social class or gender or anything, there's a feeling of wanting to break beyond the boundaries that have been set for you, and that is a universal feeling and emotion.
Mm-hmm. Actually, one of the themes the movie touches on is also the cultural tension between Syrians and the Lebanese. So you being a Syrian person yourself, have you ever experienced this cultural tension?
Of course, because so basically both my parents are Syrian from Damascus, and I still have my grandmother used to live there up until a couple of years ago when she passed away. My uncle still lives there, my cousins, and I grew up in that household always feeling like it's almost the same. The two countries were so close, we're so neighboring. We would go in the car to go visit and come back. So it never felt like a big difference. But then there would be small differences, like an accent, for example, that I had as a kid in school. انه اقول كم كلمه معوده عليهم انا بالبيت انه حناكل يوم فاصوليه، لدرجه بيتمسخروا علي كل العالم بالصف كانوا انه ما بيقولوا فاصوليه بيقولوا فاصوليا. That's like a silly example, but it was always made very apparent. You know, when you're a kid you don't want to stand out, so these kind of things I would try very hard to go against my accent and try and kind of hide the Syrian accent. And then on other levels, since I did that and I started having a Lebanese accent, as I grew up and as things became more tense politically for different reasons, whether it's the Syrian army being in Lebanon or the 2005 protests or anything until now, since I didn't have the accent, people would feel very comfortable speaking about Syrians in an offensive way in my presence, and I would really see what would get spoken behind closed doors. So it was always very painful for me, لأنه I feel like those two countries have always been one and have been one even historically. Like they're part of the same Bilad al-Sham. It's just these like invisible borders that get created, and then you have these like horrible leaders on either side who create tension among the people who should essentially be one and the same. So in the film, I try to explore that, of course, from a point of view of a worker who's not my experience at all. Alhamdulillah, I've had a much more, I'm very aware of my privilege. But as we spent a lot of times visiting construction sites, as even Khansa spent 2 or 3 days working on a construction site himself, without anyone knowing that he's an actor, just to be able to really soak up conversations and feelings, and even feelings of marginalization and how you're treated. We tried to use all of that into the film in order to be as sensitive as we can and not in any way come from a different kind of top perspective or anything, and just actually learn and listen and then communicate and translate through a film.
And something very important I'd like to mention just like to highlight is basically my role is a silent role, even though it says a Syrian migrant worker, where Dania did something very clever in that sense, where she had to actually cast Syrian actors to play that role, because they can tell their own story and they can speak about it and they can use their own language. And it highlights a specific journey that you'll see throughout the film. إنه ما بدنا نقول كمان spoilers, but for me it would have been problematic to speak the dialect, لأنه I am Lebanese and I have a different experience, and I come from a more privileged background compared to the worker. It wouldn't be fair and would be very problematic. The workers had to have their own voice, and كمان most of it was actual construction site workers. كمان just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, Hansa, the role of Muhammad is silent. There's no dialogue, so his entire acting is more through an inner monologue and kind of a body language. So the two supporting roles who have speaking lines in the film are Syrian actors who live in Beirut. It's Hassan Akul and Kamal Saleh, who were incredible. And everyone else, the rest of the extras and background actors on the film, are Syrian construction workers that we met during our research, and we invited them to be part of the film, and who also were a big part in sharing stories with us of how things are done, how they feel, and the other supporting actors were also writing their own lines based on the general essence of what the story needs to tell, but they said it kind of in their own way and improvised their own dialogue.
The movie also touches on إذا بدنا gender norms. I'm not spoiling. This is what the synopsis says. Yeah. So وأنت Khansa, يعني you are one of the arts that you practice is belly dancing, and you do performances in Lebanon. So what are some of the obstacles that you have faced being a male belly dancer in Lebanon? And do you think that the Lebanese people's perspective is changing?
There's a lot of problems I've faced, and I still face أكيد, لأنه Alexander Boregovich said it once, and I say it again, that we are part of a community and the world that part of the world that does not respect the female, the woman dancer, a woman belly dancer. So how will it be for a male belly dancer? كتير يعني أكيد there's a lot of bloodshed, there's a lot of يعني بالنظرة you can tell the way people look at you, the way some people talk about it behind your back and then you find out later and then هيك it's a lot. There's a lot of بالنظرات بالطريقة اللي بيحكوكي فيها بالطريقة اللي when you mention it how the conversation turns like it transforms. ف شو كان السؤال الثاني سوري؟
And what do you think their perception of male dancers is changing هلا؟
لكن في it's a very difficult question لأنه I can tell you yes لا أو sometimes I can tell you no لأنه ما ننسى نحن كتير بنعاني من ازدواج المعايير double standards بالعالم العربي يعني you know, a lot of people who tell you oh I'm very supportive وكذا وهيك but then they end up telling you please do not dance in my wedding يعني this is the kind of relationship we're dealing with now لأنه people are still rooted again مش عم بشمل الكل بس انه مبدئيا حسب my own experiences based on my experience people are still rooted مع يعني connected to their religion and beliefs وبنفس الوقت انه they're trying to adapt socially وهيك ففي هذا الصراع اللي عم يعانوا they're dealing with وعندك الفئة الثانية اللي when you go online and you get all these DMs and you read these comments of people wishing death upon you telling you انه انتوا عم تشوه صورة الاسلام لانه اسمك محمد وعم ترقص يعني في كذا مشاكل عم تصير so انا I wouldn't هلا اكيد في شغل عم بيصير yes and that's thanks to all the artists and the activists and everyone who's speaking up and everyone who is just doing their work doing their practicing their passion يعني without stopping this is what's kind of يعني changing the perspective over time but is it changing فعليا that's still a question ما بعرف يعني أنا I thought I'd like to at least believe that it is and I see it يعني in the new generation I see it in friends in people who come and see me and support me women who I work with and dance with and train I know I see the change there. I see the different perspectives there, and it makes me safe and happy and motivated to keep going. But yes, there has to be a lot of there needs to be a lot of work إنه ينعمل شغل كتير بالمجتمع بعد
So I think what Khansa was saying at the beginning, which is sometimes you can answer yes, sometimes you can answer no, is kind of the root of our problem and why it's such a constant struggle and fight, is that sometimes it feels in our culture, in the Arab world, in Lebanon at least, you have two steps, فشختين لقدام فشخة لورا أو فشخة لقدام 3 فشخات لورا. It's really a struggle to try and change people's minds and break out of boundaries because people can be very set in their ways and it all depends on a certain period of time where you thought you're over this problem and then it comes back somehow. Like for example, we have like a great pride event that we can be happy with and then this year they decided to cancel it. It's a constant struggle and it's tiring and it's for the activist community to always, some people get tired and other people can pick up and a new generation comes and it's the kind of thing that we have to not stop no matter what. And change does happen but slowly and more difficultly. I don't know if difficulty is a word بس بصعوبة أكتر بعالمنا. And when artists try and break boundaries and receive success, it's a step forward لأنه at least there is some kind of recognition of a success and that can bring more criticism and attack, but it can also bring more respect and like courage to be behind something like this.
That's totally
And
true.
بعد it's very difficult for people to يفصلوا النظرة عن الجنسانية والجنسية عن الرقص يعني like it takes time to reach a point where إنه خلاص you accept that dance and especially belly dance is not it's not related to gender إنما it's about the body and sensuality and how you move and how you work with the music and how you project the emotion, how you create a visual journey للمشاهد beyond your sexuality, beyond your identity. فايه في شغل بده ينعمل على صعيد التوعية and انه this is not يعني we should stop saying that this is only for women أو a man cannot dance it أو حتى كمان we should stop saying that إنه this is erotic dance and this is again أنا ما عم أقول في شيء غلط بالeroticism and erotic art لأنه that is an art form on its own but again we need to stop judging it in that sense and just appreciate الاحتراف and the الشطارة اللي فيها للرقصة لأنه it's filled with skills and filled with culture so it's sad to keep on going like that and fighting it.
And it's part of our history, right, Khansa? You used to tell me all the time, and our art and dance should not be gendered. In our history as Arabs, we've always had, whether it's Kuhl Arabi, that is among men and women, whether it's different types of dance and debke and others, this idea of assigning gender to a specific art form is very much a social construct. It's not intrinsic, ولا in religion, ولا in cultural history.
ما بعدنا ما عم نقدر نقول يعني نحن لانه اجان ننظر للرقص مش عم اجان ما بدي ما اقول نحن انا بدي احكي عن حالي وعن اصدقائي وعن عالم اللي بتشوف بهذا الالترناتيف perspective انا عم بحكي generally لانه we do have the responsibility to change the narrative انا اللي عم اقوله انه نسيت شو بدي اقول راحت على لساني سوري بس I was talking about
gender dance in our history as Arabs, anything like that.
Yes كنت عم اقول انا انه it's basically هو هذا this form is started as عبادي and it transformed into different يعني it went on هيك سلسلة a long journey of changes and development ومرق بكتير حقبات so it kept changing and developing بشكل معين beyond أكيد في قصص خاصة بالسياسة وفي قصص خاصة دور النساء back then and دور الرجال back then بس كان في الاحتراف كان في الفن كان في بس الفوكس على الموسيقى وعلى الأداء والتكنيك وكيف كانت حركة خصر بهالحقبة and then كيف صارت هون how was it influenced by this cult and then by this tribe and then it developed because of Egyptian cabarets and cinemas and then يعني في تطور يعني and that we should if we look into we realize that it's وخاصة الأساتذة اللي كانوا يعلموا back then إنه أغلبيتهم كانوا رجال وobviously ما كانوا يعملوا كتير يعني كان في أشخاص تعمل عروضات بس نسبتهم قليلة لأنه المجتمع ما كان يتقبل again في تاريخ for this and we're just هيك dissing كل هالشيء and dismissing it doesn't give it حقه and هذا اللي كنت بدي اقوله انه بعدنا مرحله انه ما فينا نقارن الرقص باي مهنه ثانيه you know it's always يعتبروها انه something اقل شأنا بالمجتمع وما له اهميه يعني I think لما نوصل لمرحله انه لما يقول اوكي في يكون الدكتور مرأة ورجل في يكون الرائص مرأة ورجل you know so إذا وصلنا لهالمرحلة يعني أوكي عم يصير في تغيير عم تصير النظرة عم نشيل الطبقية بالتفكير عم نشيل الفوقية عم نشيل العنصرية كل هالقصص وهيدا again I go back to إنه it's a lot of work and arts and performance كمان has the responsibility to influence and create this social change that needs to be happening.
أكيد. This is a very interesting topic صراحة بده podcast episode لحاله. You wanted to film the movie in a real setting, in an actual Warsha. But then something happened and you had to film it in a virtual studio in France. So tell us more about the event that made you do that shift.
No, so we did shoot in a Warsha in Beirut. We did a 5-day shoot in Beirut مع Dania Beirut Films مع Marilyn Nasrallah, which is one of the best line producers anyone can hope for. That's the one where I said we had construction workers as background actors, and we spent 5 days shooting. What I wanted to do was shoot actually in the crane cabin, and that is what proved to be impossible. So the fantasy was always that we wanted to be up there in the cabin, in the operating cabin, with the crane operator, with Muhammad. And at first we wanted to shoot that in real life لأنه I wanted an authenticity. I wanted to feel the emotions of being so high above Beirut وكل هالقصص. And Khansa and I, along with the camera operator Mazen Hashim, went in 2018 to a construction site to shoot a teaser for the film to fundraise. And at the time we were about to go up the ladder. We shot some stuff on the ground, and then when we were about to go up the ladder, the camera operator kind of froze when he looked up at that ladder, and he told me, listen, I'm very sorry, بس عندي أولاد there's no way I'm going up there good luck. وعطاني الكاميرا وقال لي I hope you get what you need, بس أنا عن جد نوي أطلع. So I was in a position where, okay, I needed the shots up there, and قلت خلاص, that's it, me and Khansa have to go up and do it. Khansa is fearless, and Aslan, he was already ahead of me going up that ladder. وأنا I'm usually okay with heights, يعني I've done skydiving, I've done bungee jumping, so ما كان على أساس حخاف. بس the second I got into the ladder space كان في شيء هيك أقوى من ما بقدر really to control it. I got dizzy, دخت وحسيت كل شيء عم بتحرك, and I had to really focus on شد إيدي على الحديد وركز إنه أطلع هالطلعة بلا ما أطلع تحتي. وكتير حسيت how vulnerable and unsafe it is to go up this ladder without any security. يعني عن جد ما عندك شيء غير هالحديد حواليك يلي أصلاً the higher you get, the more it starts swaying with the wind, and the more بيزيزق صوت الحديد. So it was very scary, and I went all the way up, and then Hansa and I shot the footage we needed up in that cabin, and we realized how tiny this cabin is. يعني أنجأ بيساع فيها شخص واحد, وقديش إنه إذا بالكاميرا عم جرب صور شيء شوي بزيح اليمين عندي chance أوقع, risk أوقع. So that's what we decided. قلت لها للبروديوسر وقت التنسيقية وقلت لها okay, معك حق, I guess we can't shoot this in real life. We're gonna have to figure out some kind of solution, and that's the stuff we had to shoot in a virtual production studio. Anything that's up there. أنا قبل كنت عم جرب أتخيل إنه minimum crew وإنه بحط ترامبولين من تحتنا to protect us إذا حدا وقع, وأنا مفكرتها هيك القصة. بس the reality is it's really quite impossible. ووقت حكيت مع ال post production house بفرنسا قالوا لي أنت as a director you want to be able to focus on the actor performance, you want to be able to focus on the creative and not on the dizziness or the safety or anything. And that's why technology has reached a place where it has now, where we can do this and it can look extremely realistic. So we got drone footage of Lebanon from the height of a crane, and we worked with a drone. We sent it over to France, where it was input to a floor to ceiling LED wall, curved LED wall around us. It's very new technology. And so قدرنا أنا وخمسة and Shadi, the DP, to feel like we're in Lebanon even though we were in France. You could see the view from that height. You could come up with ideas on set, all within a safe space. And those are the 2 days shots that we had to do in France.
So I know that movie messages are open to interpretation. But what is the main message that each of you wanted to transmit to the viewer through Warsha?
حلو.
It's a hard question, and honestly I don't like talking about it too much with people who haven't seen the film yet. The film, I haven't been able to show it in Lebanon yet لأنه there's a thing in the festival world where every festival requires a regional premiere. So I have a regional premiere coming up that after that I'll be able to have it open to the Arab world again. And so hopefully by the end of this year we'll be able to screen it. We're also planning on finding some kind of platforms and sales so that it can be available everywhere. And so when that happens, and I hope podcasts like this can at least raise interest in the film, raise a curiosity, and then you can follow us on Instagram at Warsha Short Film or on Facebook, where we always share upcoming screenings and possibilities. And then hopefully after that, I can hear from people of how it made them feel. And then eventually, maybe if there's a Q&A after the film, I can say a little bit about what my intentions were. But I don't like to kind of spoil anyone who hasn't even seen the film, and by harping on what I wanted it to be. Once the film is made and it's out of my hands, it doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to the people who watch it and to tell me how it made them feel.
I just want to mention something brief without giving any spoilers or explaining what's happening وهيك بالفيلم. بس بدي أقول إنه the film in general challenges heteronormativity and fights it visually and through يعني through كل التفاصيل اللي عم تصير بالفيلم which I think is very important. It's very important to mention that it's a very crucial queer film خاصة بهلا اللي على الوضع اللي عم نعيشه حاليا that's related to كل شيء عم بيصير in order to silence and shut down the LGBTQI+ community and their existence. وخاصة إنه على الصعيد العالمي يعني عم يوصلني أنا petitions to sign related to يعني people asking Disney إنه telling Disney that their children will not and their families will not watch their LGBTQI+ films, which I find to be very problematic لأنه بوجود يعني films like Warsha اللي هو فيلم عربي. This is an important step that يعني this is something that's important to keep going and to keep يعني telling people yes, it's important to create queer films with queer context and to challenge كل هالقصص اللي عم بتصير حاليا and to keep talking to the new generation, telling them that it's important to embrace yourselves and it's important to accept who you are and it's normal, and everything that we've been force-fed is just from a specific perspective that is not the norm. فبس كنت بدي أقول هيدا الشيء.
نفهم من دانيا إنه معقول نشوف هالموفي in Lebanese cinemas.
It's a short film, so it's gonna be probably either within a context of a film festival or a context of a night of shorts, or hopefully on platforms. But yes, أكيد that's the goal to show it very soon, as soon as we can. It's a film by Lebanese, for the Arab world, for us really, and it's only a matter of time before we get to share it far and wide. The beginning part of a film in the film festival world is always tricky, لأنه they have their own politics of a strategy and how things are shown and when, وكله بيتخانق على بدي the premiere status, أنا بدي the premiere status, and they need exclusivity. So we have to play that game a little bit to really go through the journey and then get to a point where it can be fully spread far and wide. So since we won at Sundance, we are eligible for the Oscars, and that's kind of another goal, a next goal that we have. We are eligible for the Oscars. The next step would be hopefully to get shortlisted, and then after that the goal would be to be nominated, and then of course after that would be to win it. And so soon, by the end of summer, we're going to be starting kind of an Oscar campaign. The idea is the more you can create buzz, the more people hear about it, the more Academy members have chances of voting for it. So PR and marketing is very important, and that's why it's very important for us if you can follow our social media accounts and spread the word and write about it and just kind of help create that buzz so that we can hopefully get shortlisted and then nominated for the Oscars. So if you follow us, you can find out what you can do to help, and we would appreciate any and all support that we can get, of course.
إن شاء الله يمشي الحال لأنه كتير تحمسنا وصراحة we can't wait to see it. So once again بدأ لكم مبروك to you and the cast and crew of this incredible film, and thank you so much for your time and for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank
you for having us.
And for everyone who tuned in, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Beirut Buzz podcast brought to you by Beirut.com. The film's trailer is in the description, so make sure to check it out. And be sure to follow us on Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube at Beirut Buzz. And I'll see you next week.